Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So here's a guy that is known in the New York metro area for his architecture. Yeah, he's an architect, John Riggio. And then we come to find out that he's also a tennis pro, has been back in the day, still plays tennis, but he was playing with some pretty big players back when he was in his 20s, and he's back with us today. John, great to have you here. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Doing very well. Doing very well. Where did we leave off? Where do we pick up? You told us that you have a number of tennis records. I think it was the ATP.
Yes, I have a number of all-time records in the ATP. I have to really research all of them, but one additional record that I was just remembering was I have a record for the most first serve wins in a season. And the first serve win is very important because if you could win the first serve of the match, a lot of times it equals winning the whole or each set and the total match. So that's why they count that. The first serve wins are very important. And I was the number one, and I had this one was even before the other ones. I think this was the years around like 1984 or something like that. I think I was maybe 17 years old. I'd have to remember the exact date it was, but this is another all-time ATP record I have. And I remember at that time my coach was Anthony Cambria, and that's what he was telling me, that I had more than one record at that time. I had a few of them. And he thought it was really amazing. He couldn't believe how I had these ATP records that I was really starting to add on, playing a lot of matches and then winning. So I was using my serve to really win those first serves. I used to really concentrate on having an excellent serve on the first game that I was serving the ball. And I used to sometimes get 4 aces in a row. Or if I didn't get an ace, 4 aces in a row, the ball, I really concentrated where they couldn't really hit the ball back very good. And I would use that at the first game and usually the last game to win a set and then overall winning the match. So that is how that whole thing came about. And I was able to get that record. He told me after the season was over, I didn't know I was in contention to even get the record, but that is what happened. And so things were going really good, and I just kept working on my game to improve it and things like that.
Wow. Tell me about that again, John. The first serve, how does that go?
Yes, when you say if either your opponent or you would serve one game, you'd either have the opponent would serve the first match or you would serve the first game of the match. So as soon as it's your turn to serve, every time you are serving that initial game of the set, it's considered your first serve. So to win that first serve is very important. That gets you in front where you have one win, and that could lead to winning each set and winning the whole match. And I was able to get the all-time record for winning the most first serve wins of the set.
Wow. Those are, the rest of us who don't know a lot about tennis, but like watching, maybe you play a little bit. We don't know that stuff. Yeah. When you're watching a game that doesn't resonate, you're just watching the ball go back and how it's inbound and the technique. But these other pieces, are there any other things that you can share with us that kind of a rule of thumb when you're playing tennis professionally?
Yes, I think one of them is like to get a first serve win, it really has to do with also a lot of concentration and using the concentration to really get the best, the most accurate hit on the ball. And to get the concentration, I used to even meditate before the game. I used to meditate for at least a half hour, concentrating on how I'm going to hit the ball, I'm going to hold the grips of the racket, and how I'm going to play on the court, my whole strategy of playing. So that is really one important thing playing tennis.
I want to get inside your head. So somebody's about to serve, and during a major match, you notice that they take a second. What are you thinking of? At that moment, before you slice in that serve, what's going through your mind?
Really, I'm really concentrating that I'm going to really do all the basic things to hit the ball correctly, and really going to concentrate on hitting the ball very accurately.
Mm.
And that is really what I'm thinking about. I'm sort of clearing my mind, not really being distracted, really concentrating on playing the game. It was to play tennis and play really good. You really have to concentrate on your game, not think about any distractions, and really concentrate on how you're going to hold a racket, how you're going to hit it, and um, and hit it really very swiftly, knowing you're going to hit the ball and it's going to go very accurate and fast on the court.
Are you looking at the opponent? Are you thinking about them? Or are you really thinking about your serve, where it's going to go, and getting it there?
Usually, what I always did was I looked at the opponent, looked at how they were on the court, how they were preparing to play, and then usually the initial game playing, you sort of have to get an idea of how they are playing. What is their abilities? Usually, there's a little warm up period before the game starts, so you get an idea of how they're playing. But then the initial games that you're playing, you a lot of times would have to get an idea of how they're playing. You might even have to change strategies to beat your opponent. So
Mm.
it depends on if you can really take control of the game. So I always used to work where I'm going to take control of the game. I don't have to concern myself too much with being defensive. If the opponent is very good and can get some shots in on your court, then you might have to even adjust your strategy slightly.
Wow. How about some entertainers playing tennis? I know you had mentioned something a while back about that.
Yes, there are a lot of people who have great abilities. Some people have great abilities in like entertainment. I think I talked about a lot of people already had great abilities in two sports, but some people are also entertainers. And I really can't reveal all the names of entertainers. I think the only one I could really reveal that I think that this entertainer wouldn't mind telling anyone was the actor Michael York. He was on the British team, and he was an excellent tennis player.
Hmm.
And in fact, when the British team came to the Sutton East, I played them in a tournament,
Wow.
and I played Michael York. He was an excellent player, although I was able to beat him, because I was a star player, and but he was there, and he was in the movie Logan's Run. And I think I see he was also on a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, TV shows. He did a lot of acting, and was always on like the PBS station and things like that. So that is really amazing. So he had great ability to play tennis too. I don't think it's listed anywhere, but
So
that is one ability he had, was to play excellent tennis too.
without
And in
without
fact, in fact, when I was playing the British team, I didn't point out, but I beat everyone in the British team, even
okay.
John Lloyd. I wasn't really just revealing it, but at the time, so I played everyone, and I did great in that. And then London Queens International Tournament, I did very good, and I won the tournament.
So without dropping any celebrity names, entertainer names, um, you played is are these entertainers, you just mentioned Michael York. You played with other entertainers, or
Yes, yes,
were you
yes.
just very
Some entertainers, they were great tennis players. Also, they were on the pro tour, the ATP tour. I can't reveal their names, but
didn't know
there
that.
are a number of entertainers that were really pro tennis players too,
So
and they
I'm
were they
curious.
were really big too. I know a number of them when I was playing, and but yeah, so people have some great abilities with the playing tennis. Also, that was very interesting.
So how are they on the ATP tour, but we can't reveal their names, or are they going under a different name?
Um, they might go under a different name. Yes, some
Okay.
people would have like a tennis name, but
Yep.
I think when I was there playing with them, I knew who they were. They were revealing who they were, that they were a certain
Wow.
entertainer, things like that. And
Wow.
so
Yeah.
I did know that they were certain entertainers playing and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, what we learned from you a couple of podcasts back that some tennis players, or quite a few of them, were licensed pilots. And who
Yes.
would even think? Who would even know?
Yeah. Yeah. When I was playing tennis, there were a lot of uh people who also fans that were really entertainers. And from talking to some of them, I learned that a lot of entertainers, they have to work really hard, like a sport player, really have to do excellent work, training and everything. And I think watching my playing influenced them to really try to do their own work even better, work even harder, work more excellent, and things like that. And that's they were learning things like that. A lot of people who were watching my games, they were learning all about things like that. So they really enjoyed watching my tennis playing, and they were learning from it, getting really seeing that I was playing really amazing.
Hmm. What got you most excited out of all those years that you played tennis when you were young? I mean, we're talking, a teenager, low 20s. What really excited you the most about it?
Well, yeah, I think entertainers and sport players, that they sort of have some similarities was pretty interesting. And in fact, during that time, I had met someone who was interior designer. Her name was Elizabeth Dahl, and in fact, we got along great. And in fact, we did get married together. But she also had an acting career. Her name is Tia Ling, was her acting career, actress and model.
Wow.
And so yes, yes. So that is very interesting. I mean, that is
Ah,
one interesting thing about playing sports and entertainers and things like that.
so did I hear you clear? You guys got married at one point?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Huh. You must have got married young at that point, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. What about the stadium? I know you had mentioned.
In fact, that was a really a short time after Sutton East. It wasn't exactly a Sutton East.
Got it. Got it. And Sutton East, where was that located again?
Sutton East is at the street Sutton East and 59th Street in Manhattan, New York.
Got it. What about the stadium?
Yes, the stadium that they were building wasn't just an everyday stadium. It was a top stadium. It was really within the set of tournaments that's with Roland Garros, which is really an excellent set of tournaments. It's really higher than the U.S. Open, and so this stadium was starting to become important. The function of it was already being used at the Sutton East, where people or whole teams were coming to play there, and they were starting to build the stadium in the Polo Grounds in Manhattan, and it had to meet the specifications to Roland Garros. So the whole structure had to seat a certain number of fans. It had to meet all kind of requirements with lockers and everything.
Mhm.
And my sponsors had the full set of drawings. They were looking at it when I was there, and that is really the particular tournament it had to meet requirements was for Roland Garros. So it was a stadium equal to the Roland Garros
Wow.
tournament.
Tell me that that tournament. Say that name again. I want to make sure I heard that clear. The Rolling Garros.
Roland Garros, yes, it's very well known. Roland Garros today. They're always in the newspaper and the sport pages that they're gonna play Roland Garros, usually in Spain, and that is, in fact, I was the number one player going into Roland Garros back in like 1989, I think it was. Unfortunately, I would need a whole group of people to really get there supporting me. So my sponsors decided we weren't going to go there. And I think if I went there on my own, things might not have gone good. I would really need a whole set of people to really go with me. So that is the one tournament that you really had to go to the stadium and play. And that's what we were building. We were building a stadium when everyone was going to have to come and play there at the stadium. It was really big.
Tell me about your support staff. You're the people that surrounded you when you were doing all these different tournaments and even the U.S. Open. Who surrounded you? Did you have a coach? Who was with you?
Oh yes, Of course, I always had things like you had a tennis instructor, might not have been the same instructor. Sometimes they rotate them, they give you different instructors. Then there's always like a different coaches. One, you would have your own coach, say like Anthony Cambria to explain, and then they also have a coach that's part of the tennis center. So there's another line there above the player. They have a captain, then they have a coach above there, then they have a tennis administrator, and then on my own personal end, I would have maybe a uh, tennis instructor, someone teaching me in tennis. Then I'd have a tennis coach, and then from there they would connect into the tennis center. And I think with that whole sermon, there's all kinds of people. The tennis coach isn't a sponsor. They have you'd have a sponsor for a brand, then you'd have also a sponsor that's more like a financier. So you'd have even more people, and then so you'd have all those different people helping you. And that's so really to go over to Roland Garros at that time, we would need a whole set of people to really go and travel over there. We were already set on building our own stadium, so going over there was going to be a little diversion. Although it was a very important tournament, I think I can go there, and I think the look was good for me to win Roland Garros that year if I can go there. I was
Was
really doing amazing.
would that be Spain?
Yes, it was in Spain. Yes.
Wow. So like completely exciting. And every time we get together, you mention these names, these tennis players, and remember the names. Like they were like not just big tennis players, but they were some of the biggest people in sports back in the day. Like insert a baseball player's name. It's just as big, of these people.
Yes, well, there was one player I didn't mention yet, and that was Ken Rosewall. And I knew Ken Rosewall. He was a big winner in tennis and was playing for a long time. And I met Ken Rosewall a couple of times. He even came down to my court down in Jericho. And then next time I met him was over in Audi Pond at the tennis center and Audi Pond. So at the tennis center at my court 33, he was teaching me some backhand. He was teaching me how to improve my backhand. This is sort of the same time I had learned some things from Tony Roach. Now Ken Rosewall at that point also was teaching me some improvements in my backhand even further from what I had already learned. And my backhand was already excellent, and he was trying to even improve some more things about my playing. So he was a big help. And then he was a good friend, like at the Ali Pond. He was always very friendly, and he told me to go and read his book. So at that age, I was still 19 years old, and I ran over. I got his book from the library. I read it, and then like the next week or something, he's at Pond again, and he's asking me questions, about the book. I think first he didn't believe I read the book, and then I told him I really did read the book, so he quizzed me. He quizzed me on the whole book. He gave me quiz and I answered. I remembered everything all his questions. I was able to answer everything he asked about it, which was
Wow.
really amazing. And so he did really good, and he was in the go. So what we did is everything went good with that, and that was good to have his support playing, because he's really a top player and he was been playing for a long time, and so that was really good. And I think that helped me too, that he was there and liked my playing. He liked me as a tennis player and things like that. So that
Wow.
was really good.
What if you could do it again and do something different? What would you do? Is there anything that you think of that, oh, wait, I probably should have done this or should have went to that direction in your tennis career?
Yes. Well, I think the obvious one was really just to take the trip over to LA and just take my chances. I mean, that is probably an obvious one. And other than that, I don't think they really could have done too many other things. I mean, that is just about it.
So you're saying,
Maybe I could have. I think some people had ideas. Maybe I could have to continue my tennis was maybe like to take the problem to like the newspaper, television shows, things like that. See what can stimulate to get around that problem with the stoppage and things like that.
gotcha. Yeah. So, find a different route for publicity for yourself, is what you're saying? You know,
Well, I think one thing overall is, when I was playing tennis, I was playing tennis for my enjoyment. I like to play tennis, but I wasn't keeping any records or anything. And I think over the years, I think if there's one thing different, I think having someone to keep the basic records, my playing cards. I had so many playing cards with me, but I don't have any of them. I don't have any of my cards, like my like just the overall keeping like a scrapbook of everything,
sure. You know
of
what?
all those different things would have, I think, would make things happier. I think everyone would like to see them now too. I'm trying to find them. I even have a big advertisement in the Manhattan Times about my autograph signing. There's a very large advertisement, and I think they had published that. I remember at least two times that was published in Manhattan, and that brought so many fans out to me. And that is so I'm still trying to look at all those different kind of things that I know are out there. But I think that would have made it easier if I really had someone just having a full scrapbook of items really for me.
Well, you're in the middle, the throes of everything that's going on. It's there's so much happening all at once that it's hard to remember that. And even what you just said, like I I started my radio career when you were playing tennis, right around the same time. And I've interviewed like tons of celebrities, on and on and on. I don't have any pictures. Like I never took any pictures. Like people say, "Hey, you talked to this one, that one." Yeah, but you got to take my word for it because I never took any pictures because I was more focused on what I was doing instead of taking pictures. And same thing for you. I think the same thing is, you don't think of keeping those records and how you might want them later in life because you're just doing what you're doing and enjoying it.
Yes, I think keeping everything very secret was one thing of why I really think at the time didn't really have a good scrapbook and didn't really save everything safely and kept it for myself. Because since everything had to be very secret, I sort of forgot about those things, and that was one factor that was involved with not bothering to keep any papers and things like that. That is one problem that was occurring.
Can you share? You mentioned it before, but for anybody that's tuning in right now,
In fact, there's like a lot of my things that they had. Like for instance, I had a racket with my name on it, and it was sold in Texas, the Schlesinger racket.
wow.
And the advertising had my name. It had John Vanderbilt on it, my playing name at the time. Now things like that and like my trophies, a lot of those things they're even auctioned off.
When you say how to keep things secret, remind us again, why did it have to be?
It had to be secret because they really don't want people to really start to stop your career. A lot of people are jealous. They want to get in there. They want to take from people, And even one of my sweatsuits that was $3,000 Adidas sweatsuit was really stolen one time when I wasn't around. And I wonder how is that possible? So that things like that were really a problem, and so I think that's why all those any type of things on material items like that they could steal and things like that. I really wasn't supposed to concern myself with it. So I was just concerned with playing the tennis and having fun, enjoying tennis
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things like that. And all the scrapbook things, I think, yeah, if someone was able to keep a scrapbook of things, would have worked much better. I think that I would have a nice portfolio of different pictures and things like that. I know the names of a lot of photographers from Sports Illustrated, from other sport photographers that probably have my photos. I
Mm.
mean, I would have to really try to have someone find them. But I have a whole bunch of exposés. I remember once Bjorn Borg even allowed one of the photographers, a professional photographer, to take pictures of me when I was playing, because he was my tennis instructor for a little while. They passed him over. They passed my previous instructor over to Bjorn Borg, and he was teaching me some tennis. And they had a whole pictorial of me. In fact, so there's all kinds of pictures like that around of me playing.
Maybe
And
there's a photographer, a sports photographer association that you could reach out to, and they could be
yes,
out there, because if that photographer back then took those photographs and could even make a couple of bucks on them because you want to buy them, you want them bad. I think they'd step forward, you know.
yes,
But we also have to remember they were negatives back then. right?
Yeah, everything. I don't think any of the pictures were digital. I don't know if
Uh,
anyone really had a digital camera, but they were all on old film cameras. And
yeah.
they're very nice cameras. They really were all
Uh,
professional photographs. But there's someplace. I mean, I have to look for them. Maybe I could try to find them. I
yeah.
was able to find my pictures over on the Tony Roach video, and so that's pretty good. But I have to look around and see if I can get some more professional pictures and my official playing cards and things like that.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal to see that now that we've heard the story and been on your journey about everything that took place when you were in your teens and also in your 20s. We're just about out of time, but I want to tell everybody if you want to see more about John's tennis and also his architecture, johnriggio.com. That's John Riggo.com. Always great talking with you. It's like I don't know where the time goes. Like I look up and I almost think to myself when I get the cue over here that can't be right. How did that like in a flash, in a serve of a ball? We're out of time, but great catching up with you, John, and looking forward next time we dig back in.
All right, it's great talking to you, Steve. Thanks a lot.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.